Segoli, Nadioliwas, Skanagoga, Skanago. Just greeted you in Oneida saying, greetings, what is the news? Are you with peace? I am with peace. It is such an honor to be with you all here today. It is me, Dr. TJ Reed, Laguadio Oneida, for he is a good man. Such an honor to be with each and every one of you as we come together, our swan song, our final time here being together. What an honor it has been over these last 6 weeks, starting our seventh module, our seventh week here. What an honor it is to learn along each and every one of you. Thank you for participating in our community peacemaking circle on GroupMe. Thank you very much for your responses on the Canvas module. And thanks just for taking the opportunity to connect your headspace and your heart space. As Don Coyes of the Mohican Nation says, this can be the longest journey a human being makes in their lifetime, is connecting that headspace and their heart space. So thanks for joining us today. Thanks for joining us all week. We know you could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us in this digital space. And I thank you for that. So thank you very much, people. Let us continue on here. And let's start the show, people. So greetings, week 7 here for Vermont Law Graduate School. Let's get into it. So just want to share with you all again, just grateful for our time together. Want to let you know we can continue this learning and conversation together as a community, resources for one another. Don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be a stranger, whether it's a letter of recommendation, whether it's a continued question of how this practice, how we can continue our learning, how we can work with different Indigenous communities, how we can honor the Indigenous peoples. What does this mean for ourselves as Native peoples, as allies, whoever it may be? I'm willing to work with you, and I'm grateful to work alongside you. And please know that we are stronger together, right? Like the peacemaker with the many different arrows, that one of us easily broken. But when you have all of us together, we are much stronger together than we are individually. So remember that. Just that reminder for us being on this shared community of resources in this new frontier together is what is a wave, if not a multitude of droplets of water all working together. So let us all work together for that good, for that harmony, for that peace, and for that love. And lastly, I will be sharing with you all an excerpt from Echo, a graphic novel, which is from the anthology of Moonshot. I believe this one is from volume 1. There's 3 different volumes there, which I highly recommend. Well, that'll be our final story I'll read with you as we close out our time on this video, in this space together. So I've said it many times throughout the semester, but again, just a theme of this class is that story about that human's role from that Dene elder, which is Arlie. And Arlie was telling me this role that long ago when all the creations together, the bear says, look what I can do, pulls out the tree, puts it on the ground. The deer says, look what I can do. The deer goes over, jumps over in a single movement. The human being says, well, if I close my eyes, I can imagine a world like this one, only better. So our responsibility as human beings is to close our eyes and to imagine a world like this one, only better, and bring people to that imagined space, which I know we can do that when we work together. I know that's what our capability is as human beings, that gift that we have. So again, continue the conversation and learning on GroupMe. If you feel like you want to put forth another circle, whether you want to put forward some more positivity and kindness, I know that goes a long way. I've had some past few classes over time, just that continued connectivity, continued learning. I definitely appreciate that. So please don't be afraid to do that. Definitely do reference our YouTube class playlist for more content. I've curated that for you all for your continued learning. I continue to add resources down to that all the time as a living document, as a living resource, just for people like yourselves and myself to continue to learn and rewatch and see how this is being done. Indigenous peoples using talking circles, using community peacemaking, using restorative justice all over Mother Earth and making their world a better place, moving towards this more restorative system as opposed to a more punitive system. And again, reach out to one another for support, as you all have seen each other in Canvas, on the GroupMe. If you see things that are different or similar, there's learning to be had, definitely. I encourage you to take charge of your own learning. And those are some of them. As a student, some of my favorite conversations that I learned are from classmates and different things that you'll be talking about the material, even outside of the class, and just that continued conversations and learning. So please dive into that. So a final call to action. If you are a practitioner, I encourage you to have cultural alignment in your practice with where you are practicing, with your own identity and how this is authentic and true to the practice itself and you and the peoples you are working with, that it is all true and trustworthy, and that you're honoring the practice as best you can and however you can, and whatever that means to you. If you are going ahead as a lawyer, as a trial advocate, or as a lawyer in any sense, as a mediator, I definitely encourage you to have that mindset of lawyer as peacemaker. That notion of great power comes great responsibility. I have my little dog Mildred coming up here trying to want me to throw a ball for her. That great power comes great responsibility. But just remember that as a lawyer, that to try to use that responsibly, that if about around 92% of cases don't go to court themselves, if we are using this mediation, how can we use perhaps this notion of circles? How can we use this notion of equity and justice and righteousness, of putting our minds together in a good way and our hearts together in a good way and our spirits together in a good way? How can we do that and heal and help try to heal and make things better than it was before. As a fellow human being, then in anything you're doing, whether it's with when you're talking to strangers at the grocery store, with family or with friends, loved ones, just um, strangers who turn to be friends. This notion as to create community, empathy, and spirit, that anywhere you're at, that circles can take place anywhere. That doesn't have to be sitting down or standing in a circle, which it can help, that the structure of it and that accountability and seeing one another and the energy of it. And then also recognizing how can you have those conversations wherever you're at? How can you have those restorative moments in any way, whether it's a small way or a big way? Just I think those human connections really make life worth living. And I think they really remember us that we're all fellow human beings along this human and learning journey together. As a self, as an individual, recognizing that just the power and the importance of positive self-talk with how you speak to yourself matters, and that in turn will lead to how we speak to other people. And the peace that we bring to ourselves is the same peace we can bring to the world. The love that we're able to accept for ourselves, that same love that we're able to give out to the world as well too. So just remember that the importance of positive self-talk. I think I can. I think I can. And why not? Why not you? You're a human being that bleeds blood, drinks water just like anybody else in the world, needs to sleep. Why not you? Why not you, people? Keep dreaming big. Keep dreaming for the stars. Whatever you can do. Keep making the world a better place for everybody. And as a person in any organization, whether that is a government, whether this is a public sector, whether it's private sector, whether it's a non-governmental organization or a nonprofit, or whatever sector you are in, whatever work you're doing, really just try to recognize how can you move from more punitive to restorative in whatever way that is doing. If it's academic or it's higher education or K through 12, how can we still have accountability, not back down on accountability, but also not back down on compassion to say, how can we try to yes, that there needs to be something to resolve this and to recognize this. And then how can we try to make it better than it was before? How can we try to heal this up as opposed to just leaving an additional wound? As Danielle Sered talks about, this idea of until we reckon, and it would be Archbishop Desmond Tutu that says there is no future without forgiveness. So how do we do that? What does that look like? And I encourage you to that's a call to action for all of us to take up every single day in whatever organization, whatever group that we're a part of. This one was taught to me by Dr. Pamela Taylor, I've talked about before, who was an alumni of this class and also a wonderful human being I've had a chance to learn with and alongside with during my role when I was at the university, during my role teaching as the University of San Diego for the Center for Restorative Justice as a trainer for the National Center there. And Dr. Pamela Taylor taught me about ancestral mathematics. So for each and every one of us, there's this notion, and this graph was not created by Dr. Taylor, but it's a notion that was put forth and taught to me by Dr. Taylor, that in order for you to be born, you needed two parents. And then from there, those splits off like the tree, and you would have had 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, 16 second great-grandparents, 32 third great-grandparents, 64 fourth great-grandparents. You can see it doubles every line. We'll continue down the line. Let's go to the 7th great-grandparents. It's 512 peoples just in your family alone. Let's go ahead to the 9th great-grandparents. That's 2,048. And look at this. For you to be born today from 12 previous generations, you needed a total of 4,094 ancestors over the last 400 years. Think for a moment. How many struggles, how many battles, how many difficulties, how much sadness, how much happiness, how many love stories, how many expressions of hope for the future did your ancestors have to undergo for you to exist in this present moment? That's a powerful one. And I think for some people, this is very empowering and very exciting. And I've heard from other people as well too, that family and different things can be very tough, and like the history and abuse or struggle. And I would say if this is your call as well too, I'm wishing you peace and strength in your journey and your struggle. And I would also recognize the power it is for you to be able to break the chain of abuse or trauma and pain, to be able to bring that healing, bring that light, bring that love and peace. That is a huge gift. And this notion for carrying on the tradition of my ancestors. I hold this eagle feather here. I think about for millennia, that for thousands of years, that Oneida people would come together in over 1,000 years at least in a circle to talk about how can we come together as a community, how can we resolve our issues, and while that takes place in the Longhouse today for an Onondaga for our great firekeepers and decisions for the Haudenosaunee Grand Council. But it's thinking about that. That's just a powerful thing, right? That it's not, life doesn't just happen in a vacuum where we came here accidentally. It's all these different things that brought us to where we are today, making peace with yourself, making peace with your past, and being and we are descendants now, ancestors, as John Trudell says. So being a good descendant, and then someday we'll be an ancestor to others. Some TV show recommendations we've talked about before. Reservation Dogs has some humor, some different things, talking about different ideas and concepts. I think is done in a good way through a native writing cast and directors and storytelling, which is profound. And also a show, Echo, They're on Disney Plus, came out in 2024. And I really want to share with you this graphic novel, which it is based off of, and a little bit about it. It was created by David Mack, who is a Cherokee person. He'd sit with his uncle, who's a Cherokee storyteller, and they learn about this different ideas and storytellings. So he creates this person, and this character in this story is called Echo. Echo's real name is Maya Lopez, and she is deaf. During an interview with Michael Sheashe, David explains that Maya's unique way of empowering herself in the physical world shows the power of stories to help and heal, whether through speech, sign, music, art, dance, or gesture. This character proves that stories can be told and perceived in many ways. In this way, Maya demonstrates to the reader that communication is an infinite cycle. This is an excerpt from Daredevil Vision Quest series, uniquely told in Indian Sign Language, creating a beautifully dense masterpiece that can be read in many different ways. These different tribes had different styles of sign language as well. We have American Sign Language. One word as it talks about in here as well too, that for the idea for understanding an American Sign Language, it's like a light bulb goes off in your head. And then the idea for understanding from this plain sign language, it's like you have two hands from your heart and it goes up and then out, and it connects like a bridge. So straight out and then up and over, the idea to understand someone. So it's this notion of like understanding with your heart versus understanding with your head, just different ideas of language and understanding. So let me get into this conversation here as Maya's talking to her dad. Later on, when I realize there is this thing called sound, I will ask my father all kinds of questions like, what does laughter sound like? What sound does grass make? When I hear that rain makes a sound, I will ask, what sound do the clouds make? Does the sunshine make a noise? What does the rainbow sound like? When I ask him these things, it makes him laugh and cry at the same time. And then I ask what that sounds like. But I say that I must learn my own language to tell my stories. More than signs, more than sounds, more than words. Pass on my stories through my own medium, like the comic book artist, so that you can understand, even if you don't hear like me. Even if you don't know what sound clouds make, you could feel my stories. I want to say it's been an honor to learn along each and every one of you today, people. I want to say, Yawanko Gunalukwa Unukiwa means thank you. I love you. Until next time in Oneida. Just remember, if no one has love for you, Dr. Reed has love for you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care. Thank you for being part of the learning process. It's an honor to learn alongside you. All the best.